edition of SC Squared, we'll discuss where Cody Zeller will be taking his talents and how Wisconsin might be teaching Indiana how to bucky this weekend.
After that, we'll talk about how the Pacers set the pace in a 54-point third quarter on Tuesday. The T-Ocho show is coming to Indianapolis this weekend as the Colts host the Bengals. And can Brett Favre expose the Bears' defense instead of himself this Sunday in Chicago?
Finally, Zach and Logan will discuss Cam Newton's theory of eligibility, as well as a preview of MLB Free Agency and some surprising teams in the NBA. Adam, yesterday at approximately 1:07 p.m., Cody Zeller announced he's coming to IU. What are your thoughts on Zeller's decision?
Well, I think it's great for the school, and I think Tom Crean bought himself 4 more years of coaching at least. The big thing here, though, is that he's going to bring more talent. You know, there's already talk that he might bring Yogi Ferrell with him as well, and other players that are on his Indiana Elite AAU team. So there's a lot more to come from this decision, and I think that's the bigger thing. I think a lot of people are putting a little too much pressure on a kid that's still in high school, though, to be the savior of the IU basketball program.
Right, obviously a huge pickup for the Hoosiers with Zeller, Yogi Ferrell possibly. It's a really promising future, it looks like, for Indiana basketball.
Certainly.
The football team heads to Wisconsin this weekend to take on the Badgers. Tell us a little bit about the Badgers.
Well, you know, they only have 1 loss this week, or this year, I should say, and that was at Michigan State. So that was a pretty, you know, Michigan State's pretty good this year, so that's says a lot about their team. And they have a really good defense who's only allowing about 2 touchdowns a game. What would your key for the Hoosier offense this week be?
The offense needs to utilize some more of their receivers. Deweese Wilson has been quietly becoming a viable option for the Hoosiers' passing offense. You know, you see DeMarlo Belcher and Tandon Doss getting a lot of the credit as IU's premier receivers, but Wilson's really given IU a deep threat down the field, and I think he looks faster than his other teammates.
Yeah, I would agree
with
that.
So if they can continue to run the 5-yard screens to Doss like they tend to do, it might free up Wilson down the field later in the game.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What about the defense? What can they do this weekend against a pretty good running game for Wisconsin?
They need to just keep the ball in front of them. Early in the season, you know, they allowed a lot of deep passes, but now it seems they've adopted a bend but don't break philosophy, and it's working a little bit better. So obviously they might give up a lot of yards, but if they can keep the Badgers to field goals, they might have a chance.
So what would your prediction for this game be then?
I'm going to have to go with the Badgers 38-17. You know, my predictions haven't been right yet, but who knows? IU doesn't have much luck on Big Ten road games. They haven't won one in a very long time. I'm talking 15 years. So I just don't know if this is the opportunity for them to do so.
Yeah, certainly they could struggle, especially in a difficult place to play like Madison. All right, guys, when we get back, we will be talking Pacer basketball, Colts football, and Bears football.
Welcome back. Adam, the Pacers offense finally got going, and in a big way against the Nuggets on Tuesday. Talk about what sparked their big third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they had 54 points, and they shot 20 for 21 from the field in the third quarter. What this team did is they started to move the ball, and I hate to keep beating a dead horse and saying that, but when they do work the ball within their offense, they actually play really well. It's when they start to play isolation games that they start to really struggle. So I can't make a valuable prediction as to where this team is going to be at the end of the season, but when they do play within their offense, it seems like they're like a 5th seed in the playoffs maybe, but when they don't, it's like they're the number 1 pick in the draft type team. So it's still a little early, but if we can see some consistency from this team, I could see improvement coming.
I agree. And another offense that always seems to play well is the Indianapolis Colts. Give us some insight about what needs to happen as they face the Bengals this weekend, and they struggled last week a lot and lost to Philadelphia.
Yeah, they need to start going with that screen pass that gets them about 5 to 7 yards per play. I mean, when they give Reggie Wayne the ball over the middle, it tends to work a lot. And really, because of all the injuries they've had this year, they really can't open up the field as deep. I mean, Pierre Garçon kind of looks lost out there sometimes when he's running that deep route. So if they can just continue to run that screen pass, it would work. And Manning got a little too cocky against Philadelphia last weekend and was trying to get the ball over the top too much.
Right, but if anyone can be cocky, it's definitely Peyton Manning. He's proven himself time and time again. But I think this is a very manageable game for the Colts, but they need to play smart, especially against a 2-6 Bengals team that's hungry for a win.
Yeah, I'd say this is a game that the Colts can win. Another game that happens this weekend is the Minnesota Vikings are heading to Chicago. What do you think about this game for the Bears after they won against Buffalo last weekend, and they saw some improvements there?
Right, we saw improvements. They looked better, but moving forward, the Bears need to build on these improvements. They're going against a Vikings defense that's led by Jared Allen and the Williams duo. So, yes, they played well against a Buffalo defense, but by any means, that's not exactly the best defense in the NFL. Yeah. So I think they'll have to give Cutler the time he needs to throw and make his reads, and I don't know. I mean, I could see this game going either way. Both teams have been pretty inconsistent so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, Jen Sturger actually released some more information this week, so maybe that'll play to the Bears' advantage.
Who knows? We can only hope, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, when we get back, Logan and Zach will be talking about some national sports news. See you guys soon.
Hi, welcome back to SC Squared with Zach Eisenberg. I'm Logan Roberson, and Cam Newton's been in the news a lot lately here. A lot of allegations. Zach, what do you think about some of these allegations that are coming out about him?
It's not really surprising about these allegations because the whole NCAA football system and basketball system is corrupt. These players are getting paid left and right while they're off the field or taking benefits while they're at school. So it's not really surprising. What is surprising, though, is that he was caught cheating 3 times while at the University of Florida while he was the predecessor for Florida's iconic quarterback, Tim Tebow, and he's very faith-oriented, so it's going from one extreme to the other. So it's interesting how that'll play out. And now with the whole allegations that his father was shopping him around to recruit is even more interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people coming out and saying, and his father's saying he maybe wanted between $100,000 and $180,000 to get his son to play football. A lot of people saying it's quoting his father saying it's going to take more than money to get my son to come play at your school. So pretty interesting there. It's just allegations right now, so let's see how that affects the Heisman. But when there's allegations, there's usually some kind of truth behind it.
That is true, but then on the flip side, Tennessee coach Lane Kiffin said that when Tennessee was recruiting him after he was leaving Florida, that he had no knowledge of requiring payment to recruit Cam Newton. So we'll see what happens. It'll be a lengthy investigation, but hopefully the truth will come out.
And it probably will, yes.
And now switching over to the NBA, we'll talk about some of the surprising teams. Logan, what are some surprise teams so far?
Well, I think one of the surprising teams for me is actually the Los Angeles Clippers and really kind of how bad they are right now. They've struggled with some injuries a little bit lately, but with so much young talent on that team with Eric Gordon and Eric Bledsoe, and then obviously the return of Blake Griffin this year, people really thought this team was going to be really good this year, and Baron Davis has really not been the kind of leader that people kind of expected him to be. So that's really one of my surprising teams. Zach, what do you think about your surprising team? One
of the surprising teams is definitely the Miami Heat. Everyone predicted them to go 82-0 or 81-1, but they're actually 5-4 now. And in this young season, it's very surprising that they're not able to put the chemistry together to form a winning season and just take off from previous years.
Yeah, lost to the Celtics again last night.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. And even their coach, Eric Spoelstra, said on TNT last night that they have to let down their egos and play as a team. So we'll see if the team's able to do that and play together as a team and win. Now moving over to the MLB, we'll talk a little bit about the free agency, where top pitcher Cliff Lee is expected to find a new home this summer. Logan, where do you think he'll end up?
Well, obviously so many people believe he's going to go to the Yankees because of how much money they can really throw at him. I don't know if that will be the deciding factor for Cliff Lee. He's already stated that he would like to go back to Texas, and I think that would be a good place for him to fit. But obviously the Yankees are going to be right there with him.
I definitely agree. And then the top position player is Carl Crawford. Where do you feel he'll end up this season? A lot of people are predicting he'll go to Anaheim with the Angels. Do you see him as a good fit there?
I think he would be a good fit. Obviously, he likes to play in the American League. He's played with the Tampa Bay Rays. I think they're going to try to throw some money at him, but obviously they don't have the kind of funds that a lot of other teams have, and the Angels are going to need somebody there out in the outfield.
That is true, and stay tuned next week when we highlight the IU-Wisconsin football game and IU basketball.